What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to video number 7 in my series on making JavaScript particle animations. So today I am at Union Pond in Manchester, Connecticut, and I haven't been here in a while, but it is really beautiful this morning, so I figured I'd come over here and just enjoy this nice weather and this beautiful view. In today's video, I'm going to be starting our Emitter Constructor. So as you can see here on the page, I have our function emitter pasted in here, the finished product, and we're just going to do what I've been doing where I go over each line and kind of rewrite this function. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because it is kind of large, so I'm going to save these last two functions for the next video because I want to actually take more time to explain what they're doing. The first thing that we're going to do is, if you remember when we actually called the new emitter from create emitter, we're actually passing in these 6 variables into this constructor. So we need to actually get those 6 variables from the function. So we just copy these 6 and just paste them right in here. And I believe they're all the same names, so you could just copy this and paste it in there. So now all of these emitters are going to need a position, and that's the position that we basically passed in and defined already. So we're just going to say this dot position equals POS, or if for some reason position's null or whatever, we just default it to a 0, 0, and that's just to clean it up to make sure that there aren't any errors in that case. So the next piece is actually the particle destination, and so that's the destination that we originally passed in also. So we can do this dot particle destination and set that equal to the destination that we pass in, or just set the destination equal to the starting point in this case, just strictly for protecting us against any errors. Not that we would ever call this without passing in the position and destination anyways, but just in case. The next piece is the sample amount that we defined also in the last video. And I kind of explained what that's doing, and I'll explain more about what that's doing as we get further. But for now, we'll just set that equal to our SAM or 1. And then the next piece now is kill after particle. So what this means is basically we want to kill this emitter after a certain amount of particles have been run. We'll do data.max particles per emitter, and we actually haven't defined that yet. And so this is where we can actually jump up and say what, or in this case, just remove data, and in this case say that our max particles we want per emitter would be 25. So that's the most particles we'd want from one emitter at the same time. And so if you're not familiar with this syntax right here that I'm doing, the line that we have written right here, which I'll actually just copy and then paste. If you're not familiar with this syntax, it's actually like a simpler way of making an if statement. So essentially what you can do is you can set this variable equal to either this or this. So what you do is you basically put the if statement, which it's saying that if our sample amount is greater than this max particles, then we would say, okay, set it equal to the max particles. Otherwise, if it's less than it, then set it less than or equal, then set it to the sample amount. So it's just an easier way of writing an if statement instead of having to write the if statement before it and then setting the variable equal to whatever the outcome was. You can just write it in the same line, which is super handy. And this next line, the rate, probably isn't necessary. That's kind of left over from when I had the particle emitter and you kind of shoot out particles, because you have a rate just to tell you how many particles you want to shoot out at the same time or how fast you want them. But in this case, we shoot them all out at the same time and then the emitter dies after that. So in this case, we'll just set the rate equal to this dot kill after particle. Basically, that just means that the rate is just going to shoot out all the particles that we have, like on the first frame, basically. And in your case, you could actually want to mess with the rate too, because then that would make them shoot out at a, not necessarily all of them on the first frame, but you could have them shoot out at different frames so they would look a little bit different. You could go for a different effect. Then the next piece we want is on particle depth. So our on particle depth was a function that we passed in. So we'll set that equal to our OPD, or again, just to be safe, an empty function. Then the next piece is just our on emitter depth, which equals our OED, or an empty function again. And then our next piece is the particle color, which we also defined. So this will be the particle color equals our COL, or again, you can default it to FFF, which a lot of these defaults aren't really necessary, but we just put them in there just because it's good practice to have like a default just in case. And then the next part is our particle count. So whenever we create our emitter, we want the particle count to equal 0, because this kind of counts how many particles we've used, because we need to know so we can stop the emitter once we've reached the number of particles we need. So we're going to be like basically counting these up every time we add a new particle. Then of course we need this dot particles, which this dot particles, of course, every time it creates a particle, we would push it into this array. So each emitter has its own list of particles. Alright guys, well that will wrap up this video number 7. Like I said, those last 2 functions I'm going to wait until the next video to kind of go over and explain. If you guys are enjoying this series so far, make sure to subscribe, and also leave me comments below on what you want the next series to be about. If you guys have tried the game and seen something in there that you thought was really cool and you want to know how to make it, I'll definitely make a series for it. So make sure you comment below, like the video, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will see you guys in number 8. Peace.